Morning.
Morning.
How's it going?
That's good. I'm doing good. And Himanshu says hello. Right. So I don't know if you want to give any updates or any comments.
There's stuff that I mentioned yesterday. I'm very happy to have had the meeting yesterday for the cybernetics reading group. I think we'll talk more about that on Saturday. Again, I don't need to go on all that stuff here, but it was nice to do that when I met over a month, I think, on average in the future. So that was nice. I'm setting one of my goals for the summer is to do a lot of writing, and I mentioned some of that at the end of last meeting for a post on it. It's quite interesting in terms of the. I mean, I guess it fits with this sort of research management channel and idea under the education banner that we're talking about. So, I've been thinking quite a bit about those topics and things that we've talked about here a little bit about how are you. We've had conversations along the lines of where's sort of the relevant synthesis of ideas. A lot of times ideas and book chapters are being written, and when a conference happens, there's a lot of pressure to state your idea and do your flash talk and answer the questions, and that's it. There isn't necessarily a lot of focus on, okay, well, what are our collective takeaways from this experience? It's sort of show up, present, say this thing, get a little bit of direct feedback on the project. And there's not really a lot of, I don't want to say inclusivity, but almost there's no synthesis or sort of reflective, aspect to that. So that was sort of a main topic that came up a few weeks ago. And I would say part of what I wanted to do this summer is I'm making myself write a lot of things, and one of the first things I've done in that end is write an article that's essentially about difficulties of when you are trying to designate, I'm calling them vantage points, when you're trying to designate a new space or a space that seems somewhat different than the current way of doing things in a field of study or in a arena. There's a very particular set of challenges that I find to be not well spoken about. So there's sort of the work of building out that new vantage point and the preliminary work of going from an existing or conventional or more a little more like a path that's much more traveled, and then going off of that path to some other destination. And so my script, out of all many of the things that intended the summer category. So the first thing that I'm writing is just sort of a general commentary on what that process is as I've experienced it. Similar parallels to doing that at a sort of a theoretical or idea level too. And I think building out a code or a software or a program. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I think I'll stop there, and I don't want to try to connect. I don't want to try to connect the dots too awkwardly. But I'll say my updates are I'm looking forward to more and more of this writing, and including writing up more direct applications to a lot of the professional development stuff that we've sort of talked about in even past years, but also past movies too. And I think there's sort of I'm happy to see some of the progress in the research management discussion, and I think there's a lot there that I'm looking forward to. So that's my thought of it. And now we have a lot of people here, so we can have more Senate things.
Well, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, we were talking about. Well, we've been talking about the research management stuff in the Saturday meeting, so I'm glad to see it make an appearance here. And then some of the things you've been working on with writing and some of these vantage points I know you've mentioned before where you wanted to sort of get a sense or get a handle on all the things that kind of come out of like book chapters and papers and conferences and things that we just get this dump of information and we have to synthesize it and process it. And so, kind of thinking about how to do that personally, but also, within the bounds of why is this relevant to whatever we want to do? So,
I think if I may say one more thing about that, I think one of the other sort of, I don't know about parallels, but things that's connected to open source is sort of the idea of there being open source and potentially like free software, and these different movements to deal with sort of going against the grain of what's either the most acceptable or the most standardized practice for doing things. And open source isn't like completely radical. It's been around and will, they're not trying to say, oh, you have to be totally radical and just challenge everything all the time, but more, if anything, we've kind of had these discussions directly and indirectly, but just realizing there are multiple ways at the core, really zooming out, there are multiple ways of doing things. And there are multiple reasons to deal with those influences for how things are done or not done, whether it's open source development or alternate sort of approaches to management or academia or different ways to run organizations. Like there's startup cultures and there's very bureaucratic established systems, and that kind of is reflected in ideas like legacy software that's clunky and out of date or not very fast moving versus newer things. I think there is a lot of crossover in just how do you conceive those things and talk about them. So I'm glad that we get to do a little bit of that here. But I think it'd be good to hear more from the coders and their updates. So I'm happy to turn over if anyone wants to give an actual project update this week.
Well, thank you, Jesse. Yeah, I think that was interesting. So Himanshu says, I had given my update yesterday about my recent proceedings. I'm taking individual meets with contributors. Feels good that GSoC projects are taking concrete forms. So yeah, thank you, Himanshu, for getting in touch with people and I think Shubham wanted to meet with you. I don't know if you met with Shubham and I think Sarrah as well. So hopefully that happened. And maybe we can get an update from Sarrah and Shubham on that as well. So, so who wants to give an update first?
Hey.
Hi.
So, anyway. To start off, I'll share 2 links in the chat. Basically, I've been working on creating the environment itself, and basically, I needed to have kind of a concrete form of the agents that I was working on. So last week, I showed the basic environment and the underlying framework that I'm using, and I also showed a contributor agent that I kind of made and I was working on. So yeah, I've shared 2 links in the chat. The first is a pull request I've made with all of the kind of code and work I have done it till now, and I'll just share my screen and go over it.
Okay.
This is the pull request. The preliminary design is what I had shared a couple weeks ago. It's been almost, I think, 3 weeks. Or slightly more, I think. it was in the very initial first 2 weeks of the project, where basically I kind of outlined the basic architecture of what I would do in the project and did some basic code to test the preliminary requirements. So that's also included in this pull request, since this is kind of like my first pull request here. And then next is the what I've been working on for the past, I think, 3 weeks, which is the environment creation part. So basically, like as I said earlier, I have created an environment, and now I have 2 agents working in it, which are the contributor agent and the maintainer agent. And basically, these two need to kind of work together sequentially to go from like issues, unsolved issues that are in the form of markdown files, to pull requests that are merged within the repository. So like the main contributions of this phase are, first I've been using a lot of environments and Docker and a lot of that. So the first 2 are basically like I've tried to document as much of that as I can. And like another thing that happened this week was I kind of ran out of storage on my personal laptop. So I had to get another storage drive installed in my laptop. And I had to basically move a lot of things from my old drive to the new one to accommodate for space. And like all of this documentation helped because a lot of stuff broke. And then I kind of had to rebuild stuff like the Docker image and all of that. So I've all of that documented properly. And then the main thing that I've been working on, so this is what I had shown last week, basically the autocode rover setup. And last week I was running it manually via the terminal using the Docker commands. So I was working on integrating it using the Docker Py library. So that has been done properly. And what the main contribution that I have this week is this, basically this reviewed pr.py file, which is just a script for now. But basically it is going from it is going from an issue, and from the issue it is solving the issue. It is creating a diff patch, like a git.diff file for the code that needs to be there to solve the issue. Then based on that diff patch, the creation of a pull request by the contributor agent, the submission of that pull request, then a maintainer agent who can review the pull request and then eventually merge that pull request. So the new code that the contributor agent has written is merged into the existing file. So basically, so this is the basic what I have in what I've done so far, kind of a rough summary. And then the second link that I've shared is to the blog I've written. So the first half of this blog is stuff I've already talked about, so I won't go over it again. Anybody interested can read. And basically, I'll start from here, which is the pull request lifecycle. So as I said, I did 2 main things: the contributor agent and the maintainer agent. So the way the contributor agent works is it's a class of its own, and this is so that currently the reviewed pr.py is just a script file that I was using for testing. But now moving forward, I'm planning to make a proper project structure, and in that I can have all of these different types of agents as their own classes in a modular format. So the contributor agent class basically has these methods where it has a method to solve issue, and the solve issue method leverages the autocode rover framework to basically navigate the code base. So now how am I using this autocode rover within the contributor agent is using Docker Py, which is a Python library that allows integration with Docker. So basically, every time that solve issue method is called, it creates a new Docker container. The image is built and ready. It just creates a new Docker container. And there are volume bindings because basically the So the thing is that there are two things which are on my host that autocode rover needs to work. The first is the Olama, is the actual LLM model. So that is running via Olama on the host machine, my host laptop, and it is sending all its it can be called via the localhost API. So the first thing that I'm doing while creating this container is giving those respective ports to connect the Docker container. And the second thing is the actual repository, the code repository that the agent needs to work within. So that is also within the host because I need that to be the same throughout the project. So I'm using volume bindings in Docker to just allow Docker read-write access to that host repository. And once the autocode rover does all its work within the container, the output is a diff file. So that diff file is generated and stored within the Docker container. So I have some code using Dockerify itself to copy that from the container to the local file system, because that is the only main thing that we need. And then is pull request creation, where the contributor agent basically looks at the diff, like it is by another call to an LLM, which looks at the issue description and it looks at the code diff that was generated. And based on that, it creates an entire pull request.md file. And this is like stored in the pull request folder. So I definitely faced some debugging and other challenges. Most of them were related to getting Dockerify to work nicely. And the next thing is the maintainer agent that I created. So the maintainer agent is basically responsible for reviewing the submitted pull requests. So what was created over here by the contributor agent in the pull request.md file. And so it is responsible for reviewing it. Currently all it is seeing is that the pull request.md file contains the issue description and the approach to the code that is written to solve that issue. So currently it is just doing that. But later on, once this was all the base kind of framework structure. But for our actual project, we need the metrics. So the metrics will also come in here, like the maintainer agent will assign these metrics such as the code quality and the relevance, etc., to the code over here. And then once it's approved, the maintainer agent, because this is a Git diff file and it's all of Git repository, basically applies these changes to the repository and moves the pull request to a merge folder. So the merge is executed. And then there is also Git integration, because none of this is going to any remote Git repository, but there needs to be a local Git repository, because that is just how autocode rover works. And so this was also one of something I was very getting this right was also one of the challenges, definitely. And the another thing was creating this automated review process. So this is also done via another call to the LLM. And then the reviewed.py file is basically a script that has it has these two classes that I will reuse later, and it also has a script that I use to kind of test these. And I'll just stop sharing this and I'll share the actual code output that I have so far.
Okay.
While I do that, I can answer any questions if there are. This is the code output. So this is this right here, calculator project, is the toy repository that I have. It has these files. The main code is in this calculator.py file. And it has an issues folder. So it has pending and solved issues. So here I am going to be showing the output of the task2.md issue that was solved. So originally it wasn't pending, and by the end of this it went to solve. So basically what this code does is first it assigns this issue to a contributor agent. Then that contributor agent starts a new container. So it stops any existing container, because there are only a set number of there is a ports allocation model. And once it does that, it starts a new container. Now everything that looks like this, it's very pretty logs, is not my code. It's the output from the autocode rover code directly that is coming to me. So basically, like, so it starts this container. The container is basically completely binded to this volume repository, and it starts by like accounting the issue. So here the basic issue is to fix like incorrect handling of division by zero. Like the earlier code is just return a by b, divide a comma b returns a by b, and it does not handle division by zero. So what the issue says is that you should give something like a zero division error or some type of clear error. Next, this is all autocode rover's process where it kind of searches the relevant code and searches the relevant methods based on the issue, and it sees the current code. So like currently it sees the calculator class which has all of these codes, and it finds like the appropriate code, and once it does that correctly, it basically generates a patch. So like this was the original, and then we have the like we need to return that it is if it is zero, then return float infinity. So once once it creates this patch, this is in the autocode rover language, and then it translates that to the actual git diff language, which is like this, including these plus minuses. It completes the tasks, it puts the diff file here, and this is where like autocode rover's tasks stop and my project's task kind of begin. So then it copies this diff file from the Docker container to my local device. Then it reads the issue content that was there in this task2.md file. So this was the issue content. And next it reads the diff content that it has extracted, like the git diff content. And based on it, it writes a pull request. So this is the pull request where it says what is the issue summary and what is the approach. So yeah, this has been printed twice by me. But yeah, basically this is the pull request. Then it commits. So all of this was being done by the contributor agent. Now because it is going to hand over everything to the next agent, and all of this is being stored within the calculator project only, it commits everything. And next it basically says that it was able to solve the assigned issue. Once it does that, it the maintainer agent comes in and it gives a response, which is it reads the pr.md file. So yeah, so basically the pull request is formed in this way. So this is a merge pull request. It has this diff file. It has this diff file and it has this pr.md file. So the maintainer agent looks at this pr.md file and merges the request and then commits it. So by merging, it's like the diff is applied over here in this calculator .py file. So yeah, so basically like this is the output for what I've done so far. I have some questions on how to proceed further, but before that, like, is there any questions from me? I'll answer this.
Hey Sarrah, I didn't understand something. Is this you created a repository on your local setup, and you had certain issues within that local repository? So these contributor agents and maintainer agents, or maybe these contributor agents are solving those issues in real time within that local repository.
Right, using LLMs. Right. That's
Okay,
like
so
my entire proposal.
Oh, so there is some sort of syntax error or some sort of logical error, and that logical error is getting solved in real time within that repository.
Yeah, it can be kind of a logical error. Another issue that I have is for a feature request where basically like there is a calculator project, so it only has add, multiply, divide function. So maybe add a trigonometric functionality. So that is also, so all of this is like possible via the other framework that I'm using, Autocode Rover. You can read about it in the blog. So yeah, it uses LLMs. It's quite mind blowing.
Great, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you for the presentation, and I kind of hope you can submit your blog post to the Lab Medium. Please make sure you do that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then also, yeah, I like the structure of that, so I'm glad it's working. I accepted the pull request earlier today, so I'm pretty impressed with what's going on there. And then, I like the fact that you have these specific types of issues that you can actually, work out and try to solve with it, so that's, it's always good to have the concrete issues that can be addressed. So Himanshu says, what are you working on for next week? How does the testing and debugging work? Is it done by maintainer agent or contributor agent? And does it follow the same cycle for that as well?
Right. So yeah, the first thing, I'll answer the first question last because it's the part where I also have some questions. I'll answer the basic one. So how does the testing and debugging work? So I'm assuming you mean like while the agents are solving this issue. So the first thing is the testing of like basically the code that the LLM generates, is it even valid? Like can it actually so now the main thing with LLMs is they can write good code, that's good, but the main thing is parsing it, like getting it from their response to the actual format that we want. And thankfully, like that is the job which is completely delegated to Autocode Rover. So Autocode Rover has like I can run the basic framework, and there's also a flag called enable validation. So I have that flag enabled. Basically, what that flag does is whatever code Autocode Rover writes within its framework, it will, like for example, here it has like it has written this modification, so it's in their format. Autocode Rover converts it to Git, and while it converts it to the Git format, because I have the enable validation flag, it also checks that this is actually applicable. Meaning like this minus sign, like this line needs to actually be there to be able to remove it and to be able to replace it with this line. So this diff file is applicable as a patch to the repository. So that much testing part is done by the Autocode Rover framework itself. And then the next part about like, is the code relevant to the issue? Is what I've kind of left up to the maintainer agent. It's a very simple prompt for the maintainer agent where I'm basically asking it to basically I'm like, your role is to review pull request by conduct. This is the description. The description will have the issue description as well as the approach. I've made sure of that. And I've just asked it that does it accurately solve the given issue? And I'm kind of hoping on its accurate response. So that is, I hope that is the answer to how the testing and debugging work. So some of it is done by the contributor agent within Autocode Rover, some of it is done by the maintainer agent, and also the maintainer agent obviously then actually applies this patch. So if there is some error there, then the final thing is that it won't work, and we'll have to do it and some further loop. Coming to what I'm working on for the next week. So that is what I also had some questions about. So like I have this framework running. What I've been working with for till now are single agents, and now I need to go from single agents to multi-agent. And that is where I have some doubts. So like basically I've explained this entire process. In this, it is essential that the maintainer agent follows the contributor agent and immediately follows it. Basically, like what my initial thought process was, I'll have the concept of time steps in my simulation, and at every time step, the contributor agents can pick the issues that they want to do. So basically, that will be done by assigning themselves to the issue, and then they can start solving that respective issue. Once that respective issue is solved, they can submit the pull request for it. And then at some next time step, a maintainer can look at that pull issue pull a request and approve it and merge it. But while I was doing this, the problem with that is that if I have two contributor agents working on something simultaneously, what that will eventually result in is a conflict, merge conflict. And in real life scenarios, merge conflicts can be solved because there are humans looking at it. But here, everything is very programmatical, so merge conflicts cannot be solved. So the diff that will be generated will basically not be applicable. So because of that, the maintainer agent, like as soon as the contributor agent has written a pull request, it needs to be approved and applied, and only then can some other contributor agent start addressing some other issue. So now I have two kind of approaches that I can possibly take. So I wanted to discuss those. The first is I still go ahead with my time steps. I still say that at the first time step, I will have, say, I have three issues. So I can let three contributor agents assign themselves to it. But as soon as I have three contributor agents, I also spawn immediately three maintainer agents. And then, even though I'm saying that this is all taking place within one time step, I, in my code, do it sequentially. So out of the three issues that have been picked by the agents, the first contributor agent works on the first issue. Then the maintainer agent that was assigned to it solves that issue. Approves that request, merges that code. Only then does the second contributor agent start working on the second issue with the updated code. So for the simulation and the metrics and the graph purposes, this will all be happening within one time step. But for code purposes, it will be happening sequentially in the order of contributor, maintainer, contributor, maintainer, contributor, maintainer. That is one approach I could take. The second approach I could take is at any given point of time, at one time step, I acknowledge it is like a real life scenario. I acknowledge merge conflicts can occur, which is why at one time step, only one contributor agent can be working on the repository. So now comes the issue of which agent works, because I have this original, like my proposal plan is that issues will have a difficulty level and contributor agents will have an experience level, and they will assign themselves based on that, based on the matching. But then, like, if I'm only allowing one specific agent per time step, so there will be many candidates, and how do I choose from them? So for that, I came across like one. I had come across one. So I come across this one kind of multi-agent tutorial kind of thing by Langchin in my initial research, where basically it's about like if they kind of elect a speaker. Like there are multiple people who want to speak, and there is like they talk amongst themselves. They're all LLMs in the scenario as well, and based on that, they elect that right now this agent should speak. So basically, I will have to implement some sort of algorithm like this to make sure that every agent gets a fair chance at some point, and at every time step, there is only one singular agent who is allowed to work on the repository. So this is what I wanted to discuss. Like, what is the more sensible approach? What would simulate real life better, and also what would be better in terms of the end goal of the project?
So it looks like actually you could bring that back up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had actually two things. Yeah, so you actually had two things there. You had multi-agent authoritarian speaker selection and multi-agent decentralized speaker selection. Right. So this example is think before speaking, terminate the conversation. So I guess the thing you could do is like try both of them, and because they're just kind of alternate social scenarios. So it's like you have a bunch of contributors coming in, and then the answer is like, how do they interact? What are the rules that they use to interact? And we can use a lot of different ways to do that. Like different rules we think of. when we think of, how do agents do collective behavior. In this case, it's authoritarian speaker selection. You're just saying that there's like an authority, or there's like one individual that kind of decides what happens. And in decentralized speaker selection, there's this total democracy or something like that. So, I mean, you could try both approaches, and you could say, which one is better, or which one is more maybe realistic. Because, if we can only have one, then you make the decision to say, okay, we just assume that there's some centralized agent that tells every other agent what to do. And that's may or may not be representative of a open source organization. So some open source organizations are like that. You have like the benevolent dictator model, for example. But in some organizations are not like that. And so we want to have I think maybe if you could implement both of those, I don't know how much work that would be to do, but it seems like it's in the same sort of, they're both available in LangChain. So we could do that and know kind of what it's doing, and then, make a comparison there between the two. So we could say, if you have like a top-down approach where you have like one agent telling everyone what to do, then this is what happens. If you have this sort of decentralized model, this is what happens.
So yeah, but I should definitely go with the second approach, right? In my two approaches, basically like choosing whether I call it one time step and actually do 3 time steps worth of work, versus I have some kind of selection process, whether it is authoritarian or decentralized, to actually choose one single contributor agent per time step.
Well, yeah, we could do that. we probably would want to do one agent per time step.
Right.
I mean, it would be like you can have multiple agents, but if a maintainer is sort of doing, they're paying attention to the community or to the repo, they're going to like address one pull request at a time. So that would be probably the better way to do it.
Right, definitely. So I'll go ahead and try it with both these decentralized and authoritarian. I do think hopefully I can like integrate the existing code that is within LangChain too, because like the selection process would be earlier, and once the selection process completes, I can kind of just switch to my code.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be too much work. I can definitely try it out in the next 3-4 days, and maybe if I have any more doubts, I'll address it on the Slack.
Okay.
As and when I go.
Sarrah, why can't you have all the agents going in simultaneously at once? Like, is there a time difference between when a contributor agent starts working on an issue and when it is marked for review?
Yeah, I mean, so like I can do it. I've not yet started working on the simulation part of it. I think that is where you're going with the time difference. But what I'm working on is this like framework of what I am using, like all of this where it's being solved in real time, right? As you said.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. There have to be a time difference between when the contributor starts working and when it is marked for review for the maintainer.
Right, exactly. Because it is being done in real time, so that will take some processing time.
Yes, that is why. Okay, so because in my case, most of the things are working on assumptions. Like as soon as contributor agents, occupy the same cell as an issue agent, it is assumed that the issue is solved. So okay, so because even I got the doubt whether I should have all these contributor agents working simultaneously or not. Okay, thank you so much.
Another thing that I had planned for like a little bit long term would be like I can have 2 agents kind of collaborate, but then they wouldn't be collaborating in the real sense, like in my actual framework sense, because like autocode rover is just one container. Right. But then they could collaborate in the sense that if both of them had smaller experience levels than what was needed for the issue, they could say that, we can just do this together, and the stats would then be given to both of them. So that is where I think I can have them work simultaneously.
Yeah. Well, I would try the individual approach first, and then try to maybe do that later. Yeah.
Collaborative later.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. Well, thank you. That was very good. A very good update. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't know, Shubham, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, not a major one, but yeah, I
Okay.
have like last week. Last week, what I had was there were all these contributor agents and maintainer agents and issue agents, moving around in the simulation, and the basic idea was obviously that if they occupy the same cell, the issue is considered solved or it is marked for review. This week, what I have done is I have, as I said last week, that I have classified our issues into all these Mars shot, Moon shot, and Earth shot. So the Earth shot would be the basic issues for the beginners, and Moon shot would be the intermediate kind of with some experience level, and Mars shot would be the harder advanced level issues. Also, I have classified the contributor agents as well with the expertise level. Although this classification is very random, I have like 10 contributor agents, so they are randomly assigned whether they are advanced, their expertise level would be advanced or intermediate or beginner. Also, this time we have the code efficiency. So once these issue agents are found by the contributor agents, they are marked for review with the code efficiency that is then later reviewed by the maintainer agents. So what I was trying to do is as I said last week, that if the efficiency is greater than a threshold value, say 70, that is what I considered this time. So the issue can be merged with the main branch, and that is what I was working on. And right now we can the efficiency is assigned randomly. Once we start with the custom environment, so these agents can be trained for maybe risk seeking, or the beginner contributor agents can be trained for going for the earth shot issues that are the easier ones. So basically this is what I've done this week, and also these issue agents can be. I was trying to append them into an array where you can see the issues that are resolved and have a code efficiency of greater than 70. But there's some sort of bug key, only these 0 are coming over here. I'll resolve that, and that's it for this week. I have done only this much.
That's
I'll have a meeting with. Hello. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a meet with Himanshu tomorrow. Whatever accordingly, he'll let me know the timings, and then we can work on the custom environment and start training the agents. So far only these many agents will be available, and also I can have some visualization of the agents moving around in the grid, and some graphical visualizations of the issues resolved, and also the code efficiency per average code efficiency per time step and everything, because most of the things are working over here as assumptions, and it will be mostly used for analyzing or predicting the sustainability of your open source project based on the work that the agents have been doing.
Well, that's great. So this code efficiency number, is this based on something right now, or is
no, not yet, because right now this is just the agent based model based on Visa. So right now these are assigned this thing is assigned randomly, but once the model starts, once these agents start to get trained, at that time, based on the expertise level and based on the reward structure, or based on the difficulty of the issue, the efficiency will be assigned, not random.
Okay, yeah, that's good. So that's good. Yeah, thank you. That's great work. I look forward to seeing more and getting up the visualization step.
Maybe next week or after that we can have visualization of the graphs and the grids and all.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. Now, Adama, do you have an update?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I
thought you were okay. Sorry. So I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
Yes, I have some updates. answer your question.
Okay.
Since last week I told you that I was working on an IGE, a scripting IGE. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I was working on a scripting IGE for user to drag and drop some code. And finally, I managed to do something, but actually it was quite complicated, more than I was expected, because I thought that Unity had more built things, build assets, but I had to build a lot of things by my own, almost everything by my own. But I can show you the results.
Yeah.
So here you have a block. So for example, go up for the method go up, and then the user can drag and drop on a line, and here you can just delete it by putting the block outside the panel, and he can here he can add multiple blocks, and that's what I was working the most for this week. For the integration with Oculus, I didn't work on that yet, because I borrowed a headset from my school, but I had to return it. But I'm going to buy one, and it's coming in 2 weeks, I think. Also, I have to share something with you, because since it's a volunteering project, I have to find I had to find a job. So I told you before to enroll for this project, but after next week I had to go to my job for 1 month and a half.
Okay.
But I still want to work on this project over the year, if you agree.
Yeah, it would be good.
And yes, that was basically what I did this week.
Okay.
I create some method, and so I can show you also the main scene. It was not just one. It's here.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So this is what the user should see. So he's in a spaceship, and he will have some indication on a task. For example, he has to, he has to move the spaceship to go straight or right or down, whatever. And the first task would be to drag and drop some block text, and after the task would be more and more complicated and challenging. But this is the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So this scene works on virtual reality for the user can see things, but I didn't integrate this panel with their interaction.
Okay. So they would see that, they'd be in the headset, they'd see that scene, and then they'd do
Yes.
things within that.
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And yeah, work on this project at your own pace. I'm not saying that you have to do anything by a certain date. So yeah, please. But this looks great. Please continue with it.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Do we have any questions for Adama? Oh, were you ever added to our GitHub org? I think I sent out
Oh
some.
yes,
Okay.
I do this this week
Okay.
because since I was working on things, I didn't push thing and connect to the project on the GitHub, but I'm doing this. This
Okay. That's good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's okay. I was just checking because I was trying to assign some really general like shoot tickets just to follow up for the next week and stuff. And I you know what you said about the job stuff, it makes total sense. But I was just doing that and I realized I didn't see you there and I was like, oh maybe I don't know what it is. And then I think I was just looking at the invitations and I think the invitation was like completed. So I was like, I just wanted to follow up. So yeah, that'd be great if you do that. It's good to see your presentation.
okay, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
You might have to resend the invitation probably. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll look it over after the meeting. Hussain, did you have any updates?
Excuse me. Hi.
Hi,
Thanks.
how are you?
Yeah. No, I don't have any. Excuse me. No, I don't have any updates. No.
Okay.
Rick was on vacation this week, so I did not meet with him this week. So.
Okay. Well, good.
Yeah. Other than that, the project is coming along fine though. The project's coming along fine. I think it's so we're making some progress using Topus. So once again, this is for the breast cancer CT, the computer tomography approach to breast cancer detection, and so we're making some progress with Topus. Been having a lot of pretty intense technical discussions on the geometry and the maths behind how the beams are meant to be steered, and it does just take a lot of sorting out things between me and him. I'm going to be meeting with him later today, right after this meeting.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you. Now Jesse wanted to close the meeting with, I don't know if Morgan had anything he wanted to add or not, but Jesse wanted to close the meeting with talking about the GitHub board that we have.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, we don't even have to, honestly. But just for the sense of just to put something there because we haven't really used it that much, and just to kind of just mention expectations or better for next week. I think.
Okay.
Can you see this?
Yes.
I just put a few visualizations, just making stuff. These are super quick notes. But is there anything else you want to basically put on this list or things to follow up with for next week or the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think some of these things are a little bit out of date. I mean, we have made some progress in the meetings. We haven't put them on the board.
I just put them today.
Oh, okay, you did. Okay.
These are these are all these three on the left side are all just brand new things that I just very quickly did.
Okay.
These things over here are really more like administrative things. So I was just curious if there's anything you wanted to add to this list.
Well, I think at this point we have which one is visualization of agents is Shubham. Multi-agent setup and decision making is.
I'm sorry. Along with the visualization of agents, we can also add some graphical analysis to that. In that column itself.
In
Along
the
with the
comments
visualization of
issue,
agents. Yeah. Can you edit that?
Yeah. I just assigned you to it, so I don't know if you can edit it or not.
Maybe I'll try it.
Yeah. People can. Everyone is encouraged to
add their own comments.
Add their own tickets too. I just set up with it just to bring up discussion about it.
Yeah. Thanks for the multi-agent setup issue as well. I'll keep updating that with anything else I work on during the week, and I didn't update anything previously, but the issue to the rightmost, I just added it right now. I mean, added it as done. But basically, whatever I've so far, I just added it as a done issue.
Yeah.
I hope. Okay.
I think that's actually like a legit thing, just so we go back and look and kind of see. It sort of captures what has happened. So I'm in favor of doing that. So please add any issues that you want to do over this week or over in general, just so it will kind of give us things to talk about or like remember. And it's good to you guys understand issues fine. But I was just wanting to kind of mention this because we haven't quite used this board that much.
It's 12 o'clock.
We don't have to like live and die by the board, but
Yeah.
anything you wanted to add or mention, Bradley?
Well, I guess we're making our own issues now, so I guess that's good progress. Yeah, I mean, making issues with large language models and reinforcement learning. But no, I think this has been a great meeting. Thanks for all the updates. And yeah, we can keep sort of in contact if you have any questions on Slack. But yeah, I look forward to next week. So thank you for attending.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.